Most people think becoming wealthy means working harder, grinding longer, and constantly chasing more money. But here's the strange part. Some of the richest people you know are not the people working the hardest. In fact, many of them look almost lazy from the outside. Imagine two people starting with the exact same amount of money, $10,000. The first person spends the next 15 years hustling nonstop. Extra shifts, side hustles, stress, burnout. Every time they make more money, they upgrade their life a little more. Better car, bigger apartment, more expensive habits. The second person doesn't look impressive. They live below their means. They invest consistently. They automate everything. They stop trying to look rich. And over time, their money quietly starts making more money than they do. 15 years later, one person is exhausted and still dependent on a paycheck. The other is approaching financial freedom. And the craziest part? The second person often worked less.
By the way, I'm Giggy, and one of the biggest financial lies people believe is that making more money automatically makes you wealthy. It doesn't. The real game is learning how money multiplies while you sleep. Because once you understand that, you stop treating money like something to spend and start treating it like an employee. And honestly, that single shift changes everything. The biggest money myth in the world is the idea that hard work alone creates wealth. We're taught this from childhood. Study hard, work hard, earn more. And while hard work absolutely matters, there's a problem nobody talks about. Income alone rarely creates freedom. You can earn $60,000 a year and build wealth. You can also earn $300,000 a year and stay trapped forever. Why? Because wealth is not built by income alone. Wealth is built by the gap between what you earn and what you keep, and then what you do with what you keep.
This is why so many high-income people still live paycheck to paycheck. Every raise becomes an excuse for a lifestyle upgrade. More income leads to more expenses instead of more assets. Think about what happens every time most people get a raise. They don't think, how can I multiply this money? They think, what can I upgrade now? And that's the trap. A newer car, a luxury apartment, more subscriptions, better vacations. Lifestyle inflation quietly destroys financial progress because humans adapt incredibly fast to comfort. What felt luxurious 6 months ago suddenly feels normal. That's why some people make six figures and still feel broke. And this isn't just theory. Professional athletes, celebrities, lottery winners, people who made millions have gone bankrupt because income without systems disappears fast. Meanwhile, quiet investors with average jobs slowly become wealthy because they understand something powerful. Money kept is more important than money flexed. And I want you to think about this honestly for a second. What happened to your last raise? Did your investments increase, or did your lifestyle? That question alone tells you which direction your financial future is moving. Now here's the part most people underestimate. That first $10,000 matters more than almost any other amount of money you'll ever make. Not because it's life-changing by itself. Let's be honest, $10K won't buy freedom in today's world. But psychologically, it changes everything. Because the moment you save and invest your first serious amount of money, your identity starts changing. You stop seeing yourself purely as a consumer and start seeing yourself as an investor. And identity drives behavior. Poor financial habits usually come from short-term thinking. Consumers think, what can this money buy me today? Investors think, what can this money become tomorrow? That's the real difference. Two people can earn the exact same salary and end up in completely different lives, simply because one spends money to impress people while the other buys assets quietly. Imagine two friends. Both receive a $10,000 bonus from work. The first friend upgrades their car, buys expensive clothes, takes a luxury vacation, and within months, the money is gone. They got temporary excitement, but nothing changed financially. The second friend invests the entire amount into long-term index funds and keeps adding money consistently every month. At first, the second person looks boring. No flashy purchases, no dramatic lifestyle change. But 10 years later, the difference becomes massive. Because wealth is strange. In the beginning, it looks invisible. Then, suddenly, years later, everyone thinks it happened overnight. And this is where the so-called lazy method comes in. Most people assume building wealth requires becoming a financial genius. They think they need to trade stocks all day, predict markets, or constantly chase the next big opportunity. But ironically, many of the smartest investors in the world do the opposite. They simplify. They stop trying to outsmart the market. They stop turning investing into entertainment. And they focus on consistency instead of excitement. Historically, broad stock market index funds like the S&P 500 have averaged around 8 to 10% annual returns over long periods. Not every year, obviously. Some years are terrible. Some are amazing. But over decades, the market has consistently rewarded patience. And this is important because most active traders actually underperform the market over time.
Why? Because humans are emotional. When prices rise, people get greedy. When prices fall, people panic. Most people buy emotionally and sell emotionally, which is basically the opposite of successful investing. The lazy investor removes emotion from the process. They automate investments. They stay invested long term. They ignore daily noise, and they allow compounding to do the heavy lifting. From the outside, this looks boring, but boring is often extremely profitable. Warren Buffett once said the stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. That sentence explains more about wealth than most finance courses. Because the real secret is not intelligence, it's time. Time is the multiplier almost nobody respects early enough. Most people dramatically underestimate what small, consistent investments can become over decades. They want immediate results. Fast success, quick money. But compounding doesn't look impressive in the beginning. In fact, for years, it feels slow. Then, suddenly, it becomes explosive. And this is exactly why starting early matters so much. Imagine someone invests consistently, starting at age 25. Now imagine another person waits until 35 because they think they'll start later when they earn more. That 10-year delay can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars in future wealth. Not because the second person is lazy, not because they're stupid, but because compounding rewards time more than effort. That's why the wealthy think differently about time. Average people sell time for money. Investors buy assets that produce money without needing constant labor. There's a limit to how much you can work. There's no real limit to how much your investments can compound. Now, unfortunately, most people never reach this stage because they sabotage themselves emotionally long before compounding can fully work. Building wealth is often less about making brilliant decisions and more about avoiding destructive ones. People panic during market crashes. They chase trends. They buy things to impress strangers. They try to get rich overnight.
And almost every one of those behaviors destroys long-term wealth. Every time the market falls, headlines scream fear. People panic, they sell investments, they convince themselves everything is collapsing forever. Then, eventually, the market recovers, and the people who sold realize they locked in losses, while patient investors quietly benefited from the recovery. This cycle repeats constantly because human psychology never changes. Fear and greed dominate financial decisions. That's why emotional control is one of the highest paid skills in investing. Sometimes people don't stay broke because they lack opportunity. They stay broke because they constantly interrupt their own progress. They quit too early, they switch strategies too often, they chase excitement instead of consistency. But smart investors understand something powerful. The goal isn't to get rich fast. The goal is to become impossible to stay poor. Wealthy people rely on systems more than motivation because motivation disappears. Systems remain. Instead of constantly deciding whether to invest, they automate it. Every paycheck, money moves automatically into investments before they even have the chance to spend it. That single habit changes everything because it removes emotion and decision fatigue. You don't rely on discipline every month. The system handles it for you. Financial freedom usually grows quietly. Nobody notices it while it's happening. Your friends won't clap because you invested automatically this month. Social media won't celebrate your index fund contributions. But years later, the results become undeniable. And if you're starting to realize wealth is more psychology than income, subscribe. Because most financial advice teaches people how to earn money, not how to keep and multiply it.
Now, here's something important most people misunderstand about reaching something like $500,000. The number itself is not the real reward. The real reward is what the money represents. Freedom, options, reduced stress, the ability to say no. Because money changes your life most when it gives you control over your time. Imagine waking up every morning knowing you're not financially trapped. You're not terrified of losing your job tomorrow. You're not forced to tolerate toxic environments forever. You're not constantly anxious about every unexpected expense. That kind of peace is incredibly valuable. And ironically, the people who usually reach that point are not obsessed with looking rich. They're obsessed with becoming free. A lot of people spend years trying to appear wealthy. Luxury cars, designer brands, expensive lifestyles financed by debt. But true wealth often looks quiet. Because financially secure people don't need constant validation. Their confidence comes from ownership, not appearance. One of the biggest mindset shifts you can make is understanding this. The real flex is not luxury. The real flex is control over your time. So if we bring everything together, the formula becomes surprisingly simple. Spend less than you earn, avoid lifestyle inflation, invest consistently, automate the process, stay patient, ignore noise, and give compounding enough time to work for it. Simple doesn't mean easy. The hard part is emotional. The hard part is staying consistent while other people chase shortcuts. The hard part is being patient while the world rewards instant gratification. But historically, patience has rewarded investors again and again. At the end of the day, turning $10,000 into $500,000 is not about luck. It's not gambling. It's not some secret trick wealthy people hide from everyone else. It's about understanding how human behavior, consistency, and compounding work together over long periods of time. Most people never become wealthy because they spend years trying to look rich. Smart people spend years becoming free. And eventually, the difference becomes impossible to ignore. If this changed the way you think about money, comment freedom below. And if you want more videos about building wealth without burning out, subscribe for more.